the 2003 Toy Biz Marvel Legends Series 5, the 2009 Diamond Toys Marvel Select, the 2018 Hasbro Marvel Legends Apocalypse Wave, or the all-new 2024 Wolverine 50 Years 2-pack version. Which Jim Lee style Sabretooth is the best Victor Creed for your collection? Place your bets and stick around. It's time for another Versus. Starting with the packaging, and Toy Biz comes in a plastic clamshell. That's to accommodate the included comic. Granted, this one's beat to hell, but that's how I got it affordably. Otherwise, the back shows you all the figures that you're getting. But what I really love about Toy Biz Legends is that not only do they have a bio, they also have this really cool stats section, kind of like a D&D character, but even includes things like their height, weight, eye color, and so on. As for Select, that comes in a big chunky blister card. I do like the comic art on the spine, and on the back we get a pretty thorough bio and other available figures. The Marvel Legends Apocalypse Wave version comes in a window box. It includes a product shot and a bio. It also shows us the figure that we're building and all the characters we need to complete him. Lastly, the 50 Years edition has a window box. This is celebrating 50 years of Wolverine, as evidenced by that logo. I do like the effect of the slashes going into the side art, and then on the back we get a nice piece of original art, as well as the creators of that artwork, a bio, and where this set drew its inspiration. I love how informative Toy Biz is, but I prefer the collector friendliness of a window box, and out of all of them, I do think this one looks best. For packaging, this round goes to 50 years. Moving on to presentation, an Apocalypse Wave is the shortest of the three, standing at about 6 3/4 inches, or just a hair over 17 centimeters. Toy Biz and 50 Years come to 7-ish inches, or thereabouts 18 centimeters, with the tallest figure being Select at 7.5 inches, or 19 centimeters. Admittedly, this figure's a bit on the gangly side for Sabretooth. It also suffers from those wonky Toy Biz joints. Toy Biz used the same body for the very first Marvel Legends Venom, and in a fun reversal, Hasbro would use the Hyperion body for their Venom, which they'd later reuse for this Sabretooth. Marvel Select is a completely original sculpt and does a great job of capturing Victor Creed's comic-style proportions. The new 50 Years figure uses the Omega Red body, which itself is a common body for Venom. For context, and here's the new figure side by side with the Age of Apocalypse version. That one's a bit bigger and was built off the modern Colossus buck. My question is, when is Hasbro going to start using this Apocalypse body more? Just imagine that for a character like Sabretooth or Cyber. Putting them in a lineup shortest to tallest, and I do like those Marvel Select proportions best. Working our way top down though, and the face on the Toy Biz is pretty detailed, but also kind of rough. In fact, I just realized he kind of looks like Will Ferrell in Zoolander, and I can't unsee it. Select is much more polished. I love those sharp teeth sticking out, and this really does just feel straight out of a cartoon or a comic. I had mixed feelings about the Apocalypse Wave. What I mainly like best are the painted details, the shading in the hair, and the redness around the eyes. I don't love how the jaw's been glued on. Almost makes him look like a ventriloquist dummy. That said, the 50 Years version is a very strong offering. I really love the sculpting and painting of this hair. The face is all one smooth piece without being broken up like the last one, and he's sufficiently wild and savage. Pulling back to his fur collar, and Toy Biz is the most subdued. To Toy Biz's credit, there is a lot of painted detail in there. That's kind of interesting how it fades from dark to light. Unlike Toy Biz, which is a harder plastic, the fur collar on Select is a softer piece. This one's a lot more evenly light and does stand out better, but again, it does have that shading. Out of all of them, I think I have the most mixed feelings about Apocalypse Wave. In my mind, the collar should be pretty close to the same color as his hair, but this does stand out. In general, I do think this has been sculpted well, and it is nicely shaded. That said, 50 Years is my favorite. It's a warmer color like I like, and there's just a lot more of it. Hasbro did not cheap out here. It just frames his head so much better, and in general just feels kind of wild and crazy. Moving down to the body, and the colors on the Toy Biz figure are a bit muted, just a good dark orange and a dark brown. The paint's a bit fuzzy, but all the broad strokes are there. Speaking of fuzzy, the stripe running down my Select is a bit on the fuzzy side as well. You can see how they just missed the sculpted lines. It's a shame too because I really like these colors. I also appreciate the extra shadowing to bring out the muscle. One cool detail on Select is how you can see the toes pushing through the fabric. Out of all of them, the paint job on Apocalypse is the crispest so far. All that line work is very sharp, but if I'm honest, I've never really cared for this color scheme. To me, the orange is just a bit too bright and the brown is a bit too dark. The color scheme on 50 Years though might just be perfect. The oranges and browns go nicely together together, and it also has a really nice matte finish. Since the arms are new, they are pinless, the legs unfortunately are not, and the gloves actually just slide over the forearm. 50 years is a fantastic update, and if I was being objective, is technically probably the best looking, but I just keep coming back to the proportions on Select. The combination of broad shoulders and cinched waist, all the fabric tugs, the slight hunch to his back. This might be the best sculpted and painted head in general, but this right here is Sabretooth. I like it so much that for presentation, this round goes to Select. Moving on to Poseability, and I think we know better than to expect Select to win this category. As I always point out though, they are contractually limited in the number of points of articulation they're allowed to have. From the top though, and everyone's head is on a ball joint and a disc swivel. Toy Biz and Apocalypse Wave can look up the highest, with Toy Biz in 50 years looking down the lowest. Apocalypse Wave has a bit of tilt, same with 50 years, and all of them can look side to side. Select being a bit sticky. Moving on down, the worst arm raise goes to Select, with 50 years coming in third, followed by Apocalypse Wave, and then Toy Biz with the highest reach. Additionally, he has up and down butterflies that give him a better stretch, no forward or back though. In fact, the only other one with butterflies is 50 years, nicely hidden by the fur, which is one edge that this figure has over his competition. Moving down the arm in Toy Biz, Apocalypse Wave and 50 years have bicep swivel. Select, however, does not. Toy Biz, Apocalypse, and 50 years also have double jointed elbows, with the 50 years being the deepest and pinless, while Select has single jointed elbows with the worst bend of the bunch. That said, they can at least swivel. Speaking of swivel, Select, Apocalypse, and 50 years have swivel hinge wrists. Toy Biz, however, accomplishes a similar effect using a forearm swivel and a hinge in the hand. He also has articulated fingers. Shifting to the torso, and all Select has is a waist swivel. Toy Biz, Apocalypse Wave, and 50 years, however, all have waist swivels and ab crunches. Toy Biz and 50 years have fairly equivalent arch backs, which are fine, while the Apocalypse Wave is much deeper. On the flip side though, and all three's hunge forward are pretty much the same and are pretty great. Below the waist, and Select has swivel hinge hips. Toy Biz's are also swivel hinge, but they're ball style, so they can also swivel at the thigh. Apocalypse and 50 years, however, are simply ball jointed hips. Worst kick goes to Select, but it's still pretty close to 90 degrees. Both Toy Biz and Apocalypse get 90, but 50 years actually gets a little bit higher. That said, none of them can compete with Toy Biz's perfect split. Moving on down, and like I said, Toy Biz can swivel, not so much Marvel Select, but the two Legends figures have thigh cut. Single jointed swivel knee for Marvel Select. Everyone else has double knee, with Apocalypse Wave having the shallowest bend, with Toy Biz in 50 years tied for first. Moving all the way down, and all Select can do is swivel and hinge. Toy Biz can also hinge, but the two Legends figures get hinge with a forward facing pin for pivot. Toy Biz does get a bit of pivot, but it's not nearly as deep. He also has boot cut, but to be fair, Apocalypse Wave has that as well. What none of them have, however, that Toy Biz does is toticulation. I really appreciate the boot cut on the Apocalypse Wave version, but I love the butterfly on the new 50 years version. That said, it's kinda hard to argue against what Toy Biz can do. Obviously, things like articulated fingers are outdated thanks to swappable hands, but it does still add personality. For Poseability, this round goes to Toy Biz. Moving on to Playability, and Toy Biz comes with a comic book and a display stand. In fact, this was the reason why I wanted to make sure I got this figure in box. It depicts the busted up boot of a sentinel. There is so much incredible sculpted and painted detail in here. You can even hang it on the wall. The comic is a reprint of X-Men issue number 6, illustrated by Jim Lee. What's cool about the reprints is that the ads are updated for the time. Do you remember Toy Biz's Lord of the Rings figures? How about these 12-inch Marvel Studio figures? Do you have a Hulk-sized craving for colossal flavor and enormous fun? Marvel Select also has a display stand, but compared to Legends, it's pretty subdued. As for Apocalypse Wave, all he comes with is one of Apocalypse's arms. The 50 years version, however, has an alternate pair of hands, and this really cool alternate grinning head. When I think of Sabretooth, this is the kind of personality I imagine. There is also the small detail that this is a 2-pack with a Logan figure, and don't worry, I'm gonna get to him in his own video. But Playability is more than just comics, display stands, and teasing future videos. It's also about how well your figures play with others, and I'm mainly gonna be focusing on this runt. First things first, and it only makes sense to start with a couple of tiger stripes. This is the Love Triangle 3-pack and X-Men 97 versions. I do have Apocalypse Wave, but he's still in box, and I haven't decided if I'm going to be keeping him or not, so I'm sorry about that. One of these days, though, I'd love to pick up either Mafex or Mezco. Next up, and here's a couple of brown copies costume options. Having the select version there gives us a nice chance to see how the Sabretooth compare with 7-inch scale figures. The nice thing about the brown costume is it creates a nice link between Wolverine and Sabretooth, and if you missed it, there's a new Secret Wars retro card that just went up for pre-order. Here we have a couple of more modern costume options. The brown one is from the House of X-Wave, with the yellow and blue being from the 85 Years collection. Between 85 years for Marvel and 50 years for Wolverine, this has been a pretty great year for figures of Logan. This brings us to a couple of civilian figures of Logan himself. Though in the case of the movie version, this is pretty much all he ever wore. Still, I can't help but feel like there's been more civilian figures of Wolverine than any other superhero. This gives us a nice side-by-side of the 2-pack, which again I am looking forward to checking out in its own video. Of course, for my patent-pending relative scale comparison, here we have the Sabretooth with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. In terms of scaling, Select is my favorite, but as the only one with swappable parts to add value to Sabretooth himself, for playability, this round goes to 50 years. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Back in the day, you could get Toy Biz Marvel Legends for as low as $9 at Walmart. Boy did we have it good. I got this one for $30, but keep in mind that the box was damaged. Normally, he does go for a few bucks more, but you can get him for about $25 loose. Speaking of loose, that's how I got the Apocalypse Wave version for only 27 bucks. But if you want him new in package, he's going to set you back about 45. If you can find the 2-pack, it retails for 50, which breaks down to 25 a figure, but everywhere I've checked is sold out. On the aftermarket, it's going anywhere from 60 to 90. Seizing the opportunity, and Diamond decided to reissue the Marvel Select. In fact, you can get them on Big Bad Toy Store right now for only 30, or pre-ordered on Entertainment Earth for 28. The 2-pack obviously has better articulation and more play value, so if you can get it, you should. But for price, this round goes to Select, tying him with 50 years, 2-2 to 1-0. Agree? Disagree? Sound off in the comments and tell me your favorite. For more X-Men Versus, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun.